Did you watch the Conservative Party leadership debate from Edmonton? Now, if you didn't, my friend, you're sadly misinformed because now you don't know what Netflix show Patrick Brown has been binge watching. The whole debate could have done without the Liberal moderator. And if you agree with me, and I think you do, I'm going to give you an opportunity to send the Conservative Party of Canada a very strong message. So stay with me till the very end. For some reason, unbeknownst to me or anybody else that I spoke to at the Edmonton Convention Centre, the Conservative Party of Canada opted to fly in a Liberal lobbyist, former mainstream media journalist named Tom Clark to moderate their official English language debate. He's the guy who was given the opportunity to have Justin Trudeau fly up in an airplane cockpit with him, thousands of feet above the earth, wherein Justin Trudeau could not escape to dodge his tough questions. Yet, Tom Clark asked him this.
So I guess the first thing I should ask you is, are you feeling lucky? I mean, the entire country wants to know. What shampoo do you use?
What a disappointing answer this is going to be. Whatever happens to be hanging around at the time.
Now, to thank Tom Clark for that puffball interview, Justin Trudeau hired Clark to be in charge of CBC hiring. Now, Clark's been explicitly anti-convoy. He called it an occupation, and he's been anti-Stephen Harper for years. So I don't know how anybody thought that the debate with Tom Clark as a moderator could have gone any differently than it did in Edmonton, where Tom Clark gave himself 90 seconds of preamble before he even allowed the candidates about 15 seconds to answer him. It was really the Tom Clark show. Now, our friends over at True North compiled this quick video to show you the sort of edge of your seat questions that Tom Clark asked the people applying for the job of the next Prime Minister of Canada. Look at this.
With Mr. Charest, and Mr. Charest, the very first question I have for you is, what book are you reading now?
What
Book are you reading now?
Oh,
Mr. Aitchison, I wanted to ask you and give everybody a chance. There's a question and there's a twist to the answer. I want to know who your political hero is, and you cannot say Winston Churchill. Thank you all very much. That was actually really interesting to hear all that. Dr. Lewis, I'm going to start with you, and then, of course, everybody else gets a chance. I know you're all busy. I know that you've got stuff that you're doing right now, but when you have the opportunity to sit down and listen to some music, what do you listen to?
I would say...
I want to go to a question maybe a little more lighthearted, getting to know you a little bit more. And there are a lot of people who want to know this. It's not just me, trust me. But, Mr. Baber, what was the last thing that you binge watched on TV? What historical figure from any time, anywhere, would you most like to have dinner with?
The whole thing was so ridiculous that Tom Clark even banned the crowd from cheering, from supporting their favorite candidate. He actually penalized the candidates if their people cheered. On the flip side, he didn't want any booing either. And in the end, I think the only person who could possibly have been happy or satisfied with Tom Clark as the moderator was Jean Charest, because the only person booed more than Jean Charest was actually Tom Clark. The crowd was not happy with what happened in Edmonton. They could not understand why the Conservative Party of Canada hired a Liberal moderator, a colonial journalist from Eastern Canada, who came to Alberta to tell us what we're supposed to care about. It's one of the reasons we don't like the mainstream media out here, and we certainly don't like the Liberals. They're all a bunch of colonialists telling us how we should feel and think. But you know what? We expect that stuff from the Liberals. We certainly don't expect it from the Conservatives. And moreover, unlike other parts of the country, we actually have a pretty deep bench of established Conservative journalists who could have moderated the debate right here on the prairies. And I'm not even talking about me or anybody at Rebel News. There's Dave Rutherford. He's a retired Conservative broadcaster. Everybody likes him. There's John Gormley. He's a beloved Conservative Saskatchewan radio host. There's Danielle Smith. She's a broadcaster and a well-connected former politician. There's the Calgary Sun's Rick Bell. He calls him as he sees him. There's the Edmonton Sun's Lorne Gunter, too. And that's just to name a few. That doesn't take into account the also equally deep bench of journalists on the independent media side out here. What I saw in Edmonton was an insult not just to the membership and the intelligence of the membership, but also to established conservative journalists who could have done a better job than Tom Clark on their very worst day. If you agree with me, and in talking to the crowd in Edmonton, I think a lot of people do, help me send a message to the Conservative Party brass. Let's make what happened in Edmonton a one-off event, never to be repeated. I've got a petition. It's really easy. Go to nomoreliberalmoderators.ca. Sign it and share it. Let's tell the Conservative Party organizers that they must never subject innocent, well-meaning, curious Conservative voters or curious Conservative journalists to that train wreck of a debate that took place in Edmonton ever again. There's only one way to do that. They must promise us that there will never be any more Liberal moderators. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. I was stuck in the room with the Rebel News team and hundreds of Conservative voters, and we all had to watch Tom Clark bungle the debate with his completely useless, lightweight questions about Netflix shows and the music the candidates were listening to. The Conservative Party of Canada can never be allowed to do this to us again. If you agree with me, it's really easy. Please go to nomoreliberalmoderators.ca and sign and share our petition to send the Conservative Party a message.